we are talking about intellectual property, what are we talking about? The first and the foremost question, which is quite often raised even when the people come to us as a client, they say, what is an intellectual property and how do we acquire an intellectual property and how do we retain an intellectual property or how do we enforce an intellectual property? So these are the quite common questions which are generally raised or which are generally there in the mind of an entrepreneur or as a person who is into the business of either manufacturing or he is in the business of trading. So there are a lot of issues which comes up in the course of trade or in the course of business where the person even doesn't know that what kind of intellectual property he has already created or what kind of intellectual property is capable of being protection and how it is to be protected. Now all these couple of issues I am trying to sum up all these issues in a shortest possible time of 30-35 minutes what I have at my disposal. The first and the foremost question when I say intellectual property, we must understand the basics of intellectual property. What is an intellectual property? Now if you go by the definitions which are given into the law books, they are quite complicated for an ordinary person to understand that this is an intellectual property. For example, if I say the definition of a trademark is defined as a mark so as to indicate a connection in the course of trade with the goods of a manufacturer as originating from a particular source. Now if you go by the definitions, it is not easy for an ordinary industrialist or for a person to understand who is not accustomed to the interpretations of legal provisions under the legislations. So therefore when I say that intellectual property, what is an intellectual property? It is also a form of a property like any other properties, but this is a property which is a creativity of your intellectual capability. Now every person has his or her own intellectual capability, intellectual faculty. Now that intellectual faculty depends on the kind of business you are in, the kind of education you have taken. If you are a science student, you are an art student, or you are a student in culture or fine arts, it all depends what kind of education or educational background do you have and your mental faculty has developed into that particular field or that particular area. You may be a good engineer, there may be a person who is a good scientist, there may be a person who is a good musician, there may be a person who is capable of dealing with other aspects of the industry or other fields in the industry. So therefore the creativity of mind, it is by the use of your mental faculty. If you create something, now I am not defining something for the time being because I will come little later on that. By the use of your mind, by the use of your brain, by the use of your mental capacity or capability, if you create something, that is a property which is called an intellectual property. Now that is a creativity of mind or creativity of your mental faculty, and that comes into being. Now having said that, the question arises is that what could be the things where you say that it is a creation of your mental activity. Now take a simple example. They're just simple examples. If you really think on it, you say yes, it is an intellectual property because you have contributed something for the creativity of something original. Now for example, somebody writes a literary work. It could be a poem, it could be a novel, it could be work of any art, somebody draws a painting. Now how come that work is being generated? A person who is a writer, he writes a poem or he writes a novel. He is writing a novel or he is writing a poem by using his mental faculty, by using his mental capability, by using his intellectual capability, he is writing something. So long as what he is writing is original and it is originating from his mind, that is an intellectual property which is his creation and he will own it and he will protect it. Now it is simple such as somebody has written a song, so what? It's not so what. It is the person who has used his mental capability and capacity to write something which is for the benefit. You enjoy a song, but somebody has written it. So somebody has composed the music. Now the person who knows the music, he has used his mental capacity to formulate a music or to create a music for that particular song, which is a good rhythm. You like it and you buy it from the market. So therefore it is again the mental capacity or the capability of the music director which has been used for the creation of a music. So this is an intellectual property. Somebody is a good inventor. You are an engineer. You are in a factory, you produce certain things, you say this process I am using for the manufacture of my products. But this process is giving me some problems. This process is something which can be improved to give a better result or better utilitarian value to my product, where I make a better profit. So therefore what you do? In your own factory, you keep on trying various options of improving upon the process for the manufacture of your product. Now when you are thinking, when you are applying your mind for the purposes of developing something new and innovative into the process by which you manufacture your products, you are using your mental capacity, you are using your mental capability. And if you are creating something really new, which is useful, it is an invention. And it is an intellectual property which can be protected under the law. Now similarly, now come to the third aspect of it, and you, in the process of manufacture, you conceive and you think of something, a new design, a shape and configuration of a product in which you intend to either market your product or you want to sell that product as it is, in the form of toys, for example. You may use a bottle with a particular design to pack your products. It may have a shape or configuration which is unique, which is new. Or you may have a product which itself is new into the form, having a shape or configuration into the form of toys. So therefore that is also a creativity of mind, because you have been thinking that what would look good aesthetically to attract the customer. Now similarly, the question somebody raises is that when you are using a trademark, what is the intellectual capacity or capability which you have used to use a trademark? The answer is very simple. When you have to adopt a trademark, when you have to use a trademark, you have to think that what kind of mark would be compatible to the goods which are being sold or which are intended to be sold by you in the market. You just can't pick up. For example, I'll give you a simple example. Will you use the trademark poison for biscuit? Nobody will use poison for biscuit. But poison, when it is used for a perfume, it's an internationally reputed mark. So don't you have to use your brain to see that what kind of mark you want to use for what kind of goods? So you will never use poison for biscuit or for any item which you have to, is edible articles for human consumption. But it may be a good trademark for perfume, for scent. So therefore, the mental capacity or capability is exercised by the person in selection of a mark in relation to the goods for which you are intending to manufacture or you are in the